everyone, my name's Annette and you may know me as Nettersplays, and today I'm going to go over my acquisitions and impressions for the month of August. Now, I acquired a total of 7 games and I managed to play 5 of them. So let me go ahead and give you my first impressions whether I played them or not, but first let me start with the unplayed games. So let's get to it. So the first game I'll go over is this game called Madeira. Now, Madeira is a 2 to 4 player game, and the reason that I picked this game up is because it's by the famed designers that created Nippon and also Panamax. And so I've played Nippon before and I've heard a lot of great things about Panamax, so I wanted to acquire another one of their games. Hearing that Madeira is one of their heavier games, I also wanted to see what that game is all about. So I read through the history of it real quick and what is in the rule books, and it really intrigued me because it's about Portugal and they discovered this island called Madeira, which means wood. And so what happened there is in history they kind of tested out agriculture and tested out different economies there, but the more that the world would progress, then the economy would kind of fall through because that economy base, whether it being like wood or wheat or even wine or any of that kind of stuff, it would just kind of fall through because there was better places or cheaper places to acquire those goods. So their economy kind of fell through the cracks at certain points in history. So it applied to this certain game and I was really intrigued by that. And so the cool thing about this game is that it has worker placement. It also has this timing system to it where there's certain requests from the crown and where it asks certain economies to kind of move along and they expect certain things at certain points in the game. There's also dice involved, which the dice are really nice looking in there, but I'm not sure exactly what the game, how it flows or anything. The game board itself and the artwork on it, I really like the cover art on the box, but because I haven't played the game, I really can't express too much as far as how it plays and how it flows. But based on my first initial thoughts of the game, I'm really intrigued in figuring out how to play this beast and also how everything is just involved with the history itself. So that game is Madeira. So the next game is another beast of a game that I haven't played yet, and that is Caverna, the Cave Farmers. Now this is a game by Uwe Rosenberg, who also made games like Agricola, Patchwork, Feast for Odin, and Fields of Arle, and a lot of other great games. Now Caverna is an older game, however I managed to acquire this one in the Geek auction for a really good price. So I decided to pick it up since I haven't played it and it's from a great designer. Now initially when I looked at the box, it's really big. There's a lot of components, there's not much empty space in there. So I know I have a lot to explore in this world of Caverna. Another great thing that I found in this box too was the fact that it has a lot of quality pieces in it, but also that the rulebook is kind of thick, but it's not too overwhelming. Just like Fields for Arle, that game itself, it actually made sense and it kind of fluidly fit together, so it was easy to figure out what is what. In Cave versus Cave, I mean not Cave versus Cave, but Caverna the Cave Farmers, I'm actually looking forward to reading through the rulebook and seeing how this game kind of will evolve, because I hear it's a sandbox game where you could pretty much take it anywhere. So I'm looking forward to discovering what's in Caverna. So the first game that I actually did manage to play is this game called Welcome to Dino World. Now this game alone is a print and play. That's where it's available online, you print it out, and then you can play it on your own. So the cool thing about this is that it's the official Gen Con winner of the Roll and Write contest. Now Gen Con, if you're not familiar, is a convention for all the rest of us who could not go to Gen Con, which Gen Con is like the biggest board game convention in all of the United States. So Gen Con is for everyone else who couldn't go there. And they held a contest for a Roll and Write game, and this was actually the winner. So in Welcome to Dino World, the cool thing about this game is that it's a roll and write game all about building an amusement park that's circled around dinosaurs. So you have to put these dinosaurs in different cages around this one map. It's a grid system. And you roll your dice and you figure out which dinosaurs you want to put onto your map. You also have special abilities like security, because some of the dinosaurs might escape, and also kind of re-roll here and there, because you never know when you're going to get a bad roll, so you want to mitigate that too. Well, of course in the game there's dinosaurs, so there should be breakouts, and really, I mean, if it didn't work in Jurassic Park, it's probably not going to work in Dino World. So lots of dinosaurs escaped, and you also lost points with that. So this game, I found it to be pretty fun. It plays from 1+ players, so I got to play it by myself. I also got to play it with more people, and I found it to be pretty fun. For what it was, just an official Gen Cat game, I thought it was a great way to kind of tie everyone together and make everyone kind of play the same game all at once. So I really enjoyed that aspect of this game too. So that is Welcome to Dino World. So another game that I also enjoyed playing this month is called Zooscape. Now Zooscape is a 3 to 6 player game by Hisashi Hayashi. He's the one that also made Yokohama and Trains and also Sail to India. He has a whole bunch of different games. And this is another small box game. And the cool thing about it is it offers a unique mechanism of the I split you choose type of system. So in this game alone, what you're trying to do is kind of gather certain animals and put them in cages because they escaped from the zoo. So you have a manager who is going to decide how to split this array of cards, and he's going to split it right down the middle or anywhere in between, and kind of just say, okay, this section is the first section and the other section is the second section. Now pick and choose which one of those sections you want. Which animals do you want from each one? So you decide by playing a card that says either you want the first group or the second group. And you do this secretly. Everyone's going to decide all simultaneously what they want, and if no one picks one certain group, then you yourself are going to go ahead and acquire all of those cards. If everyone picks that group, then you're going to have to split and choose all over again. So this game was pretty fun with a bigger group. At first it was a little difficult to kind of figure out the rules because it was a little hazy at some parts, but once we figured out how to play it, then it was a lot of fun, and we really got involved with it, and you know, kind of outwitting one another and second guessing each other and kind of bluffing too. So I thought this game was pretty fun. I think I'm going to hold on to it because it's a really good game. It's by Tasty Minstrel too. And so I really enjoyed this game a lot, and I think it's something I'm going to keep because the artwork is beautiful. I showed everyone the art and they just fell in love with it. And the game system, the way it works, was also pretty easy to follow through too. So that is the game of Zooscape. So another game I also acquired is this game called Flip City Wilderness, which is an expansion and also standalone game to the Flip City game. Now Flip City is an older game that works in this unique kind of way where it's a deck builder. However, it's a press your luck deck builder because you have a certain hand of cards and you have to decide whether you are going to play the card that's on top of that pile or not. The thing is, you can't look at whatever's below that first top card, and you have to just keep on playing until you bust or you stop. Now, if you stop and you have a certain amount of coins, well, like any deck builder, you can purchase whatever's in the market and add that to your deck of cards or your hand. The cool thing about the Wilderness game is that it offers different cards to that game system. It plays exactly the same way, however, they're new and different kind of cards that work together in a similar kind of pattern, however, a little different. One of the differences is that in the base game you can win in 2 different types of ways. However, in the Wilderness game you can only win in one type of way, by obtaining 8 trophies. So that was a little different. It makes the players kind of race towards getting those cards with the trophies on them. So it's a little bit more kind of confrontational in that point because we're both racing to get those cards, and once they're gone, they're gone. Another cool thing about the game is that you also have more unhappy faces on there, and you have a way of covering up those happy faces, which the base game didn't have. So it was something new and different. I already liked the base game of Flip City, so the wilderness aspect just offered new cards, and I thought it was really good. Like, I already like it, so I didn't see any big difference between the game, and I'm definitely keeping this on my shelf. That is Flip City Wilderness. So the next game is a 2 to 4 player game that I also managed to play, and it's called Guilds of London. Now, the Guilds of London is a game by Tony Bodell, and it is a game that's been worked on for several years from what I heard. Another thing about this game is that I've heard before I actually got it was a lot of people were complaining because they said that you had to kind of decipher the iconography in this game. However, I didn't have too much of a problem with that. So this game is a game about the Guilds of London, where you have these certain tiles which are different guilds, and what you're trying to do is kind of take over those guilds by having the majority amount of your meeples on it. And on each guild there's going to be a first and second place kind of award at each one. The second place is always variable, and also you have a way of trying to get to those locations by playing these cards. Now the cards will, you get to play them, and you get to play however many you want that are in your hand. And these cards are also multi-use cards, so you can either use them as money, and you can use them as the action that's printed on the card, and those actions are special ability cards. Also, another thing you could do with the card is move people of your color into a different guild of the flag that's shown on the card. You can also acquire more people to put into the guild so that you can move them around to different locations. So it's a way of kind of figuring out whether you want to use the card or not, or you want to use it as money to purchase an action. And it offers a lot of interesting kind of ways of figuring out how to best play your cards. So I found the game itself as a 2-player game, because that's all I played it as. Found it to be really mean. So I thought this game going into it, it wouldn't be as mean as it actually turned out to be. So the cool thing about this game, I really like the multi-use aspect of figuring out the card play, but also figuring out where to go to next and how to get there and how to put your people on it. Well, because of the first and second place award in a 2-player game, it becomes really cutthroat, because if one person is going to a guild, you might as well go to that guild too, because it's going to offer you a second place award. However, once you make your actions and move based on your cards, then there's this kind of refiguring out how many people are on each tile. There's these neutral black meeples, which you get to acquire them at certain points in the game, and then you get to kind of use them as a form of intimidation. So the intimidation factor is that pretty much in this time of kind of reconfiguring the guilds, you can place this neutral player by taking out a meeple on that guild. Now, you can either take out your own meeple, or you can take out an opponent's meeple. Now, sometimes the awards are better as a second place award versus a first place award, so you have to figure out, what you want more. But the other thing is that because of that intimidation factor, you're always threatening your opponent to use that one neutral meeple. And that threat came in really handy in a 2-player game. We scored, I think I lost by just 1 point, but otherwise the game was really close, and it was very intimidating and really take that. So I didn't really expect it with this game, but in the end I really enjoyed it. So I didn't have a problem with the iconography, even though I heard a lot of people saying that that was a main issue of this game, that there was just too much information on the cards. But I didn't find that a problem at all. And so I really enjoyed the game. I really I'm looking forward to playing it out some more. So that is the Guilds of London. The last and final game that I acquired this last month is called Lisboa. Now, Lisboa is a game by Vital Lacerda, and the artwork is by Ian O'Toole, and it's a 1 to 4 player game. Now, this game is massive. The cool thing about this game, first off, is the quality of the whole game itself. The artwork, the components, the insert, the game board, the cardboard, like everything in it is just premium quality. So that's the first thing you notice off the bat. Now, the cool thing that I also got to do was play this game as I play tested it at BGGCon last year, and I got to see the prototype, and I got to see the actual prototype develop into this piece of work right now. So the cool thing is that I got to see that transition, and it really did develop a lot, and I really liked it and enjoyed the quality aspect of the game. Now, the game itself is based on a true story, a historical devastation that happened in Portugal. So in Lisbon off the coast, there was an earthquake, and this earthquake, which was like an 8.5 earthquake, it was huge. It just shook everything. It destroyed a lot of property in Lisbon. And the next thing you know, it was there was a huge fire that happened because of that earthquake. There were a lot of candles that were lit everywhere because it was a religious holiday. And so all these candles just tumbled over and things burned up. And after that, because of the earthquake, there was a huge tsunami that came in and pretty much flooded the whole city as well. So whatever fires that flood didn't take over and kind of consume, though the fire still continued several days afterwards. So it pretty much wiped out the capital of Portugal. So from that aspect, everyone had to kind of rebuild the city itself. And they used the rubble and kind of gathered everything, kind of tried to rebuild the city, the marketplace, the economy, everything. So it was a big devastation, but in the end, the whole culture of Lisboa came about and actually developed, and it also kind of decorated its own city again and kind of renewed it in a new and kind of different light. So it did so by placing these tile works everywhere too, and that's what the blue aspect of this game is all about. So if you've noticed the game board itself, the artwork that Ian O'Toole did on this game is just out of the ordinary. It's so composed of just these different areas where it mechanically makes sense, and you go here to do a certain thing, you go there to do another thing. So that makes sense, as in most games should. But the way that he incorporated the azulejos, which is the actual tile work of Lisboa. So this type of tile work is specifically popular in that area because the king, he became aware of this new form of artwork, and so once the city kind of was consumed by all this devastation and natural disasters, that it actually said, well, let's rebuild it and let's transform and decorate the city with these new tiles. So if you go around in Lisboa, you can see all these different tiles, and so he incorporated that artwork of the whole city and placed it into the board as well. So I thought that was really unique and different too. You don't really hear so much of the incorporation of the historical aspect of something that happened in history in a city and how it's applied to the artwork and on the board game. So I really enjoyed that fact. Another cool thing about the gameplay itself is that it's a Vital Lacerda game, which is usually a difficult game. And so I always like these kind of games because I always like the way he applies a theme to the actual gameplay and uses game mechanics in a way that they really haven't been used before. So he did so in this game too, which I actually found to be really interesting. At first, I was a little overwhelmed with the card play system of this game. So in this game, you only have 4 actions to do on your turn. And so you have these cards in hand. You only have a few cards in your hand, and you get to play a card. But the way you play that card, you can play it in one of 4 ways. And each way that you play it, it cascades into a certain array of different options for you to pick and choose from again. So not only are you really trying to pick how to do one action, but you're really trying to pick and choose like which action on top of that will you use. So actually it turns out to be something like 16 actions that you can pick and choose from. So I really thought that was really cool and unique because it's going to offer kind of an exploration of game development and game design that, you know, it applies to an actual game player and trying to figure out how to best strategize and how to best use those small like actions that you get to take and try to incorporate it and kind of fluidly use it so it can help you in different ways in the game too. So I thought that was really unique and different because you're picking and choosing like whether you want to influence the government in order to do these special actions on the board that will help you rebuild the city. However, sometimes because you go ahead and influence the government, other people hear about that too, and so other people can also follow your actions. Even though it's a strong action for you, the other people can also do that strong action too. So sometimes you want to do it privately and kind of help your own personal market by building a store or kind of incorporating your own personal use so you don't give those special benefits to other people. So there's a way of like balancing whether you want to publicly do it or privately do it on your board. And so I thought that was really interesting with Lisboa. The gameplay, it's really thick and heavy. I've played it 3 times already with 2, 3, and 4 players. I liked it with all player counts. And I'm really interested in playing this some more too. It's such a pretty game itself. It's huge. It takes up a lot of space. But when it's finally done and ready, you can see how you've actually built a city and how you actually grown your economy and gained different wigs, because that's what you score. You score wigs, not victory points. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, I really enjoyed Lisboa. If you're into heavier games with a lot of theme along with a lot of heavy game kind of options, then you should definitely try Lisboa. Well, thanks again for joining me, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. And again, if you want to follow me, you could follow me on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and of course YouTube. You can also follow me on the Dice Tower at Board Game Breakfast, and also Meeples included, and the Instagamers Network. So thanks again, and also if you want to leave a tip, you can also leave a tip on Ko-fi, which is a website where you can just give a few bucks and tip me so that I can drink a cup of coffee tomorrow. So feel free to do so. Otherwise, you can always subscribe and like or leave a comment down below. I usually do respond to those. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!